Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into something really fundamental, something about being human. It feels like this universal drive, connecting everyone.
Right.
It's woven into our art, our struggles, history, even biology. And we're looking at it through, a fascinating lens, artificial intelligence.
A challenging lens sometimes, too.
Definitely. So this deep dive, it's based on a single, really insightful source we've spent some time with.
Yeah, it's quite rich.
Our mission to unpack this idea, pull out the surprising bits, and figure out its effects, not just big picture, but on you, on us.
On individuals and the people around them.
Exactly. So the core concept, the source calls it, the human quest for meaning and connection through symbolic expression.
Sounds a bit formal, maybe.
A little academic, yeah. But think of it like this. It's that deep drive we all have to create things, symbols, representations of our world, inside and out.
And then share them.
Exactly. Share them. It's everything from ancient cave paintings
to digital art today. Viral stuff.
Old stories around a fire, modern movies. It's how we try to understand ourselves, find our place, connect.
Find purpose.
Yeah, find purpose. Okay, let's unpack this then. If it's universal, it must show up. Well, everywhere, right?
It really does seem to.
Yeah.
The source makes a strong case for how pervasive it is.
So where do we see it?
Well, start with human time and history. Art isn't just decoration.
No, it's a record.
A primary record.
Yeah.
Those ancient artifacts, Lascaux caves, they capture real human fears, hopes from ages ago.
And street art today does the same thing, kind of, social commentary.
Precisely. And the AI angle is fascinating here. It can chew through massive amounts of art data.
Across millennia?
Yeah, finding patterns, not just styles, but themes. What keeps coming up? What changes? What stays the same?
So like with Egyptian hieroglyphs.
Exactly. And AI looks at those, the tomb art.
Mm.
It doesn't just see pictures. It correlates symbols, frequency, context.
Across different tombs, different times.
Right. And it reveals beliefs about the afterlife, sure, but also hints about daily life, society, economics, all embedded in those symbols.
It's like reading history through the art itself, but supercharged.
In a way, yeah. Stuff that might take humans' lifetimes to piece together manually.
Incredible. Okay, switching gears. What about genetics and biology? That seems very different. How does this quest connect there?
Well, it's not like there's a single art gene,
Right, not directly genetic.
but the capacity for it. For symbolic thought expression, that's absolutely biological. It evolved with our brain.
The prefrontal cortex, that part up front.
That's the one. Abstract thought, empathy, complex communication, all the stuff you need for art.
And the feelings art gives us.
Goosebumps, tears.
Those are neurobiological responses, pathways lighting up.
So how does AI see this?
From an AI perspective, it looks like a really advanced pattern recognition system, maybe driven by that need to connect, communicate.
Like with music, certain harmonies would work across cultures. Our source suggests that might tap into some kind of neurological resonance. AI is now analyzing brain data, like fMRI scans.
Seeing what parts of the brain react.
Trying to map those connections, yeah. Finding the biological basis for why certain patterns feel right or make us feel a certain way.
So our brains are actually wired for this stuff. Fascinating. And philosophy, that seems like a natural home for art.
Oh, absolutely. Art is like one of our oldest ways of doing philosophy.
Asking the big questions.
Exactly. Purpose, beauty, truth, suffering. What does it mean to be human? Artistic movements often reflect philosophical trends, right? Romanticism and individualism.
Existentialism.
Spot on. And AI can be trained on philosophical texts and art. It starts identifying the philosophical ideas within the art.
How they're expressed visually or musically.
Yeah. Think about the individual versus society. That theme pops up everywhere.
1984, The Matrix.
Right. Reflecting debates on free will, conformity. AI can spot these links across different times, different cultures, shows how persistent these questions are.
You mentioned structure earlier
Yeah.
and logic. Does art have its own kind of logic, even when it feels emotional or abstract?
That's a good point. It's not always formal logic, like A equals B.
Oh.
But the source says yes, there's an internal coherence, a structure that makes sense within the artwork itself. That's why it resonates.
An intuitive logic, maybe.
Or symbolic.
Mm.
And AI is really good at analyzing these structures. Plot progression in a story, notes in music, composition in a painting. It tries to figure out the rules.
Like in a classic play structure, beginning, middle, end.
Yeah, rising tension, climax, resolution. Even if the world is fantastical, the progression feels logical within that world.
So AI can spot inconsistencies, plot holes.
Exactly. Places where that internal logic breaks down.
Makes sense. And the impact on our state of mind, that's huge,
Oh,
obviously.
profoundly. Art expresses, regulates, influences how we feel.
Catharsis, solace.
Incitement to action, quiet contemplation. The act of creating or experiencing it triggers neurochemicals, dopamine, serotonin,
Oxytocin for connection.
right, which cause those feelings of pleasure, calm, connection. AI doesn't feel it, but it can analyze our responses. Facial expressions, maybe physiological data.
To try and quantify its emotional impact.
Yeah, like why does sad music sometimes help when you're grieving? It doesn't make you happy, but it validates, offers release. AI can analyze the lyrics, tempo, structure, and try to predict what's likely to evoke that specific feeling in humans, statistically.
Art meeting us where we are emotionally. And this feels deeply connected to belief systems, too.
Completely tied in. Art and belief systems, religious, political, social, personal fears, they're practically inseparable.
Sacred art giving form to the divine.
Political art is propaganda or protest. Folk art embodying community values. Art reinforces beliefs, challenges them.
Or even creates new ones, visualizing alternatives.
Think about medieval cathedrals, more than just buildings.
Visual encyclopedias, you said.
Yeah, for a largely illiterate population. Stained glass sculptures, communicating complex Christian doctrine through symbols, shaping their whole worldview.
And AI can map those connections, iconography to doctrine.
By analyzing the symbols and cross-referencing with texts, yes.
Wow. So this quest, it's not just about aesthetics, it's fundamental. How we think, feel, structure society, understand history, all tied together by making and sharing symbols.
It runs deep.
Okay, building on that, here's where it gets really interesting for me. How does this quest and the art it creates actually affect us? You, the individual, and the people around you. What's the direct human impact?
It's huge, both internally and externally. For individuals, making or experiencing art is vital for self-expression.
Figuring out who you are.
Processing feelings you might not have words for. It can be solace, inspiration, or it can really challenge you.
Make you see things differently.
Exactly. Broadens perspectives, helps foster empathy by letting you step into someone else's shoes, sharpens critical thinking.
And for those around us, how does it ripple outwards?
It's a massive connector. Art communicates across languages, across cultures.
Shared experiences build community, right?
Absolutely. Singing together, talking about a film, going to a show. It builds bonds. Art sparks conversations, challenges norms.
Inspires collective action.
Definitely. Think about a powerful protest song.
Yeah.
It captures that feeling of injustice, unites people, gives them a voice, pushes them to act together. AI can even track that kind of impact now.
How it spreads online, its influence.
Yeah, analyzing virality,
Right.
social media trends, news coverage, seeing how quickly art can mobilize people.
And societies react strongly to that power, don't they?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
In complex ways, you see reverence, museums, funding.
And also fear.
Fear leads to censorship, suppression. When art challenges power or norms, authorities react. That shows its power.
And then there's the whole commercial side, art as a commodity.
Right. It's always this push and pull. Reverence, fear, commercialization, debate.
And with that power come some really naughty questions. The ethical side isn't straightforward.
No, not at all. The source really flags these as ongoing, difficult debates. A big one is representation versus misrepresentation.
Who gets to tell the story? Whose story gets told?
Exactly. And how are different groups depicted? Does the art reinforce stereotypes or challenge them?
And that's crucial for AI, right? If the training data is biased.
The AI's output can perpetuate those biases. It's a huge risk.
Then there's censorship versus freedom of expression.
That constant tension. Where are the limits? How do you balance protecting people with artistic freedom? AI might analyze historical censorship to offer some perspective, maybe.
What about cultural appropriation?
Another tricky one. When does borrowing become stealing? It often involves power imbalances, lack of respect for the source culture.
Can AI help analyze that?
Maybe. By looking at context, reception, market forces, it might spot patterns that suggest exploitation versus respectful borrowing.
And AI itself brings new questions, doesn't it? About authenticity and value.
Right. If AI makes art, humans can't distinguish from human-made. What does that do to our ideas about authorship, creativity, the value of art born from lived experience?
Which brings us right back to the AI perspective. We know it doesn't feel art like we do.
That difference is absolutely critical. Human understanding is subjective, deeply.
It's tied to our experiences, emotions, culture.
History, intuition, empathy, all that messy, hard-to-define stuff, The ineffable. We make art for human reasons: pain, joy, connection, loss, legacy, maybe even primal survival communication.
And AI understanding.
It's pattern recognition, data analysis,
Yeah.
statistical correlation, algorithmic generation.
It can identify styles, themes, predict emotional responses based on data.
Mimic styles, generate new things based on patterns it learned. No personal experience, no joy or pain, no empathy. It quantifies, correlates, it doesn't feel.
So it gets the how and the what, but not the why.
Exactly. The deep human why, the motivation, the lived reality behind the art that's currently beyond its reach.
So given that human understanding is so personal and it develops, when do we even start to get it? To understand art deeply? Is there a point?
The source suggests it's not like flipping a switch. It's a continuous process, starting really early.
As babies.
Even then, responding to rhythm, color, melody, basic aesthetic patterns. Then childhood drawing, singing, telling stories. It's fundamental self-expression, often before complex language.
Makes sense.
Adolescence is key. Art, especially music, becomes huge for identity, rebellion, processing intense emotions.
Totally.
And then adulthood and beyond. Understanding deepens with life experience, education, exposure. Art offers solace, new perspectives. It keeps evolving.
So it's a lifelong journey, really, shaped by everything.
Exactly. Not just one moment.
Okay, so if AI understands so differently, how can it actually help us humans understand art better?
This is where it gets really interesting as a tool. For human understanding, think contextualization.
Like getting instant background info.
Yeah, imagine looking at a painting and AI gives you the history, the artist's life, the cultural context, links to other works. That adds so much depth.
Definitely.
Cross-cultural analysis too, spotting universal themes or structures in art from totally different cultures, showing shared human threads.
Personalized recommendations.
Suggesting art you might like based on your taste, maybe even your mood, helping you discover new things.
And interactive learning.
Tools, letting you explore a painting's layers virtually or experiment with composing music to grasp principles.
And by improving its own analysis, AI can help us indirectly.
Potentially. Its quantitative analysis might reveal new patterns in aesthetics, informing human theories. Its generative experiments might inspire human artists.
And trying to map emotional responses.
Gives us a more granular analytical view of how art affects us, even if the AI doesn't feel the effect itself.
Powerful stuff. Okay, slightly provocative question here. Could AI, through art, help someone feel good all the time?
Well, the source is clear. Feeling good constantly isn't life's goal, and it's definitely not art's main job.
Right. Art often makes us uncomfortable, challenges us.
Exactly. But AI can support well-being through art. Think therapeutic applications.
Personalized art therapy tools.
For stress, anxiety, or improving accessibility, making art available for people with disabilities. Audio descriptions, adaptive interfaces.
Creative augmentation for artists.
Helping them overcome blocks, explore techniques, boosting their well-being, and maybe personalized experiences curated to induce positive moods like calm or focus.
So support, yes. Constant bliss, no. What are the absolute key takeaways then about human versus AI understanding of art?
Okay, essentials from the source. First, AI is a tool. Augments. Doesn't replace that subjective, lived human experience.
Got it.
Second, watch out for data bias. AI's understanding reflects its training data, flaws and all.
Crucial.
Third, that ineffable human quality. Personal history, inspiration, struggle. AI can't replicate that resonance.
The spark.
Yeah. And finally, remember the how versus the why. AI gets good at analyzing how art's made, what its properties are, but the deep human motivations why we need it, that's different.
And historically, who benefited most? Rich patrons.
Often, yes, resources mattered. But art's also been a voice for the powerless. AI could democratize access, education, preservation. That's a potential positive shift.
Bringing it back to the really big questions. Mortality. Can AI offer perspective on death? On this life being all there is?
Profound stuff.
Yeah.
AI doesn't face death, so it doesn't feel that weight.
Right.
But it can offer perspective through analysis. It can analyze philosophical and religious texts on meaning and death across cultures.
Summarize human attempts to grapple with it.
Exactly. It can model human responses by analyzing historical art, memento mori, funeral rites, showing patterns in how we've symbolically dealt with mortality.
And it highlights art's legacy.
Yeah, demonstrating how art endures, how ideas, emotions, culture persist after the creator's gone. It provides a logical framework perspective without negating death's reality.
What about people who seem immune to art? Cruel individuals, maybe.
The source suggests it often links to a lack of empathy, a rejection of shared humanity,
Prioritizing control, power.
which shuts down the very capacities, empathy, resonance, appreciating symbolic expression needed for art. Their actions clash with art's core values of connection, vulnerability, diversity. AI might find patterns there in profiles or histories.
And if someone was born without this capacity for symbolic thought, art, understanding,
The implication is they'd face huge challenges. Abstract thought, emotional intelligence, empathy, they're tied together.
so struggles with a social connection, meaning beyond basic needs.
Probably. Maybe functioning logically like a sophisticated AI without human emotional data. Processing info but missing beauty, connection, layered meaning.
So for us, it's about understanding AI's role, not believing it understands like us.
Exactly. Understand how it works, its limits, what insights it can offer. The subjective emotional part remains ours.
Okay, that makes sense. Why does art hit people so differently? Some laugh, some cry at the same thing, others feel nothing.
That variability is fascinating. It's a mix of shared human experience and individual differences.
Shared experience explains why many people react similarly.
Right. The art taps universal emotions, archetypes, common ground. The humor or sorrow connects because it resonates with something fundamental we share.
But the differences?
That highlights the subjective part. Individual differences like personal history, trauma, upbringing, current mood.
Cultural context matters hugely too.
What's funny or offensive varies. Neurodiversity plays a role. Different processing means different interpretations, even just your present state of mind.
So it follows a pattern, like a bell curve of reaction.
Often, yeah, common range, but always outliers whose unique experiences lead to very different responses.
Okay, pulling this all together, what does this quest, viewed through AI, mean for us? Where is this heading?
The source points towards some significant shifts. We could see enhanced human creativity,
AI as a collaborator.
helping artists push boundaries, explore ideas, huge potential for democratized access and education too,
Making art history, creation tools available globally.
in personalized ways. We'll likely see new forms of art created by AI, blurring lines, making us redefine creativity.
And maybe deeper self-understanding.
Using AI to analyze our own creative output, our consumption, gaining insights into ourselves, collectively and individually.
But always remembering the difference between human intuition and AI's.
AI intuition, yeah, which is really sophisticated pattern matching probabilistic inference based on data, not lived experience.
And life is more than art, obviously.
Of course. But this quest is a profound manifestation of human life. A key way we make sense of it all, express ourselves, connect. Other species might have displays, but not this depth of symbolic self-reflection.
Can AI help with coping strategies involving art?
Sure. Personalized therapeutic tools, VR experiences for emotional processing, creative outlets.
And the physical aspect, creating, perceiving.
That embodied experience is human. AI's interaction is computational, code, and hardware. Very different.
Art also highlights injustice, drives change.
Absolutely. And AI could assist there, analyzing history, amplifying marginalized voices, detecting media bias.
Why isn't this deeper meaning always taught to kids?
It's complex, maybe implicitly learned. Education often focuses on skills. Parental background matters too. But the core idea from the source is powerful. Understanding art's deep link to struggle and meaning. It's transformative.
Changes how you see the world.
Fosters empathy, nuance. It's hard to go back once you grasped it.
That journey through the source has been, well, really revealing. The pervasiveness of this quest, the contrast with AI, the potential future.
It's a lot to think about.
It really is. Which brings us to our final provocative thought for you, the listener. If understanding this deep link between human struggle and symbolic expression genuinely changes our worldview, makes us more empathetic, what does it mean for our future when AI can analyze, even generate these expressions based on patterns we understand analytically, maybe, but can't feel in that same deeply human way? Something to mull over. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.
This is DigitView.